and welcome everyone to another episode of What Are You Going to Do About It? I'm so excited because I have actor Melvin Jackson Jr. on the show. You've seen him in Everybody Hates Chris and The Wire. I know that I love that show. So I'm pretty excited to have him on the show. Not only that, but he is a history maker. He and his wife, Kelly Jenrette, were the first African-American couple to be nominated for an Emmy in the same season. So that's pretty exciting. Melvin, how are you today?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much.
Of course. I'm so excited. How does that feel? Like, how does it feel to know that you and your wife made history?
It was mind blowing because I was just like, really, with the first, like, not even Angela and Angela Bassett and Courtney B. Vance. Mm-hmm. But it's like, wow, so it's interesting just because some people like us who are not, household names, made history. Mm-hmm. And sometimes the interesting thing is that you almost have to celebrate yourself in order to be celebrated. It's true. And so that was the thing was us, that when we came to this realization that was the thing, we had to make sure that we got it out there to let people know, like, we are a part of history, no matter if we're not quote unquote the names that they would want to put out there. But it's just like, you know what, God allowed this opportunity to happen, so we're gonna promote it. We're gonna give God the glory, and we're gonna promote it.
That's awesome. Well, again, thank you for being on the show. The show is called What Are You Going to Do About It? We ask 3 simple questions. What was the problem? How did you identify it? And what did you do about it? And so right now, I'm going to turn it over to you so you can tell us what the problem was and how you identify it.
Okay. Hope you're ready for this.
I'm ready.
The problem was dealing with the suicide of my father, and realizing that I just couldn't sit and be depressed about it, or wallow in tears, but simply, how do I be a blessing to others by using my pain to help push the message of mental health, suicide prevention, and being an advocate for it. And I feel that if I hadn't gone through that situation, I wouldn't be the advocate that I am for. I wouldn't speak about it. I wouldn't have weight to talk to carry with me when I speak at these type of events, or when I talk about it, because I have a personal I have a personal history with it, and it affects me in a different way than if someone is just speaking about it and that didn't experience it. So me living it through, with my father's death, it allowed me to really see the pain that it causes, and allow me to want to not have anyone else go through that pain. So for me, it's always speaking about mental health, checking on people, making sure we're good. And when I ask people, how are you doing? I'm asking, no, how are you really doing? Opposed to, how are you doing? You're like, I'm doing good. Like, no, how are you really doing? Like, where are you at? Are you on a mountaintop or low, whatever? Like, where are you at? And is any prayer I can pray for you for, or pray with you with? And that's the thing, is you're going a little deeper than this, the normal asking the question, hey, how are you doing? And accepting the answer they give you, which may not really be the truth. They just don't want to be a burden. So I tell people, listen, don't put your be a burden. Mm-hmm. I welcome it, because guess what? You can't carry the burden alone. And God allows me to have the mindset and the wisdom to lead them to Him. Mm-hmm. Because it's not about what can I do for you per se. It's saying, how can I allow you to see that the bigger picture is God? Mm-hmm. And I don't know what their spiritual belief may be, or what. I can only speak for myself. God got me through it. Mm-hmm. He's the only reason I'm still alive today, because I was in a dark place. I didn't know how this could happen. I blame myself. Did I not do enough when I talked to my father? And so now I make sure that I kind of give people the extra time, call them, text them, check on them, in the midst of my busy schedule, and being okay with not, if I'm not able to save everybody, or if I'm able to save one, then I've done some work. And I'm not, I'm not God, so I can't save everyone, but just simply for me, it's saying, how can I be utilized to make someone's life better, or bring someone out of darkness into the light?
Yeah. So you mentioned that, I guess a transition took place in you, and you were down, dealing with depression after that happened, and was questioning, like, how did it happen and all of that. What was the turning point for you? What happened that made you say, you know what, I have to do something about this. I have to use this experience to help others. What was that awakening? What happened?
It was truly God. I mean, when I found out about, my father's death, I was in church, and I was going to leave early, like, after church was over, I was going to head home, but something in my spirit told me stay long, to stay. And so when I got the news, I was in church. So I'm glad that I was still there, because the comfort that I got from people, for a stranger, she saw me crying and she asked what happened, and I told her. And then next thing I know, I had 10, 20 people praying around me. And then I had another friend who just lost her sister in a car accident. Her mother fell asleep while they were driving. And so she's praying for me. And I'm like, she's going through her own hurt, and she's sitting and praying for me. Then the stranger who came over to me, her son drove me home. One of my other church members drove my car. And then all of my friends stopped whatever they were doing that day, and they came to my house. I had about 20 people at my house. They were like, we're here for you. They're cooking for me. And they just went around the table and just told me their stories of how it impacted their lives. And I'm a type of person where I don't just do stuff just to be like, oh, I want to feel good about myself because I did something for you and you tell me how. That's not, I just do things and then I'm moving on to the next. And so when they kind of told me the things that I did for them, like even being new to the circle and how I invited them, like just that for me was overwhelming, to where it's just like, man, okay, God. And so I wanted to continue to be myself. And so I also needed to heal, because if I don't talk about the pain and I keep it all sheltered in, then I'm only doing myself a disservice, because I'm not talking about my hurt. I'm not sharing with people and being transparent. And so that's how I had to heal, because God's like, use this pain to help somebody else. And if they see you going through it and you're getting through it, then that gives them hope to do the same thing. And so for me, it's always continue to talk about my father's death, because I'm still have my moments where it's like, man, I miss him. I feel emptiness, but I have to continue to keep speaking about mental health, keep talking about suicide, even with, what happened with one of the Miss America pageants. So it's just, it's something that's not going to go away. And we, especially in the African-American community, we have to keep talking about it. So for me, I was like, I'll carry that weight.
Yeah. Like you said, it's something that, is somewhat taboo in the African-American community, especially, I guess, sharing your feelings. And then especially when it comes to going to therapy and getting actual, help from doctors. And it sounds like your form of therapy, you really leaned on your spirituality and then those people that are around you, your friends and your church family. So I think right now, it's kind of difficult because of COVID. We're not able to come together, and be in a situation like that. So how are you, how do you help people? How do you continue to help people and minister to people when you can't be around them, you can't touch them, you can't hug them and all that good stuff? Like, how are you moving forward with it?
For me, I use social media to kind of continue to spread the message, and just continue to share my transparencies, whether I'm high or low. For me, I even have to grieve differently in regards to like with death, because that took me to losing my father took me to a place that I never want to go. So I'm always just trying to mentally prepare for loss, and I have to grieve and then be done with it, because if I stay in that space, it's a hard space to get out of. And so I'm just constantly continuing to share how I'm feeling, whether I'm, low or whatever it may be. I'm just kind of wanted to continue to minister to people and say, listen, man, God got me through. He wants to continue to get me through. If that's who you believe in, definitely that's the way to go. Don't try to do it on your own. Seek counseling. And just have a support system. You got to have that one friend that you can call on at any time of the hour and just be there. And even in the midst of COVID, you guys can social distance or whatever, however you do, but you gotta, if you need somebody to physically be there, FaceTime, whatever, like you need to do that. You need to be okay with being not okay. Sometimes people like, I don't want to bother this person. They got this going on. It's like, if you need help, pick up the phone and call. And if you have that friend and that friend says, hey, if you're going through something, pick up the phone and call. Whether it's a text and like, hey, I need you to pray for me. Hey, I need you to check in on. Hey, like, people who are going through things, you just kind of constantly have to be, send them a text. Hey, just thinking of you. Hope all is well. You good? And just let them know, like, I'm thinking of you. I'm hope your light is shining today, and just continue to go from there.
Yeah, you're right. One thing that I make sure that I do now, especially in light of these suicide numbers since COVID has happened, have like doubled to tripled in some communities. Right. So I'm sure to do some wellness checks, send a text or call people. And then something I've taken advantage of myself is just with COVID, it's opened up more opportunities to connect with people digitally. So I have scheduled like FaceTime appointments over the phone with therapists. So that's one of the positive sides of COVID is it's opened up, this world of technology and connection that wasn't there before. So yeah, I mean, you're right. You have to keep reaching out to people, doing these wellness checks, because you never know what somebody is going through. There are high functioning people who are depressed. So that's good. So I know that you also wrote a book in addition to acting. So you're an author, you act. How much does, being an artist and an author play into your healing process as well?
It plays a big part. Simply to go from writing a children's books idea that I had many years ago as a cartoon, and then showing my wife, and she one day woke up. I think she had a dream about it. She was like, we should turn it into a book first, and that way we can build a fan base for it and then go from there. And I was like, that's a great idea. So to go from the images on a piece of paper to a book, and then to see it on Amazon and in Barnes and Noble online, and then be able to go into schools and read it, like it's a blessing, because you're sitting there with the kids and you're reading your book. You're like, man, I remember being a kid reading books, and here I am, an author of a children's book. So it's a beautiful thing. And to be an artist and actor, something that I never thought that I would be doing, because I started out managing artists, and it was just a way to translate into something else. You're being another person, you're being a character, and you're using your pain in this performance. And so that's another thing. And then also with me being a producer, I'm able to produce things that I feel like the world needs to see. Like I have a domestic violence documentary that is currently on All Black streaming right now. And I wanted to, like I said, continue to be a voice for the voiceless, and to continue to tell stories that people are scared to tell. Because what man is domestic violence? Not too many. So I wanted to do my part as a man, because I went to an event and I was seeing women survivors talk about their stories, and it just broke my heart. And I'm like, how can I be a part of the solution and not a part of the problem? And so I just wanted to do my part in helping tell these women and this men story of domestic violence and what is done to them and what they've seen. And so for me, it's always that allows me to continue to put out good energy into the world, and continue to tell good stories, and continue to tell sides that are not being able to be told.
Right. Okay. So this is telling, because your wife is an actress, singer, I told her the other day there's nothing she can't do. And now I'm listening to you and you're saying that you're a manager, an actor, an author.
I'm an ex-manager. I used to be a manager, not a manager anymore.
Well, I mean, there's a plethora of things that you guys are talented at, and it's a really beautiful thing to see. And then, just how strong you guys are in your faith and how committed you are to making this world a better place. I greatly admire that. All right.
It's important. So, I think it's very important. I mean, I have 3 sons, and me being a father since I was 17 allowed me to grow up fast and understand the responsibility of a man. It's the responsibility of a man to be a man. And so I think that you have to make sure that you solidify your legacy in a way that you can sit back and be like, okay, I think I've done enough to pass the torch on to my sons. And for my mom telling me at a young age, you can do anything you put your mind to, allowed me to know that the sky's the limit, that as long as I keep God in my heart and know that he is leading this path, that I'm gonna be okay. And so to bring, him to bring me to Kelly and Kelly to me, like, and now merging us together, like, can only be, we only can go even more forward from where we were individually. And so I just thank God for allowing us to unite, and me to learn from her to learn from me, and us build together and understand, like, listen, we're on the same team, there's no competition. And look what he's done. He allowed us to both be nominated for an Emmy, which is still crazy. And her star is rising, and my star is rising in another avenue behind the scenes. And she's got a show coming out February 21st on CW. And I'm just happy. I'm just a proud husband of everything that she's doing and she does, because she works very hard, and she pushes me to work hard as an actor and as a business person. So man, I couldn't ask for a better partner.
That's awesome. Now, you mentioned your kids. How do you talk to them about mental health, given what you've gone through with your father?
It's interesting because I just really had a conversation with both of my oldest sons in regards to just the death of my father. And, because I never talked to them about how they felt. And it was just at the moment I was grieving to where I didn't bring them to the funeral. I was just like, I was in my own thing. I didn't want them to deal with that. And it was a lot. And so they felt a certain kind of way, but not even being able to go. But I was like, had they asked me and I know they wanted to go, I would have made sure they went, because I didn't want to deprive them of that. But just their own experience, with that. And then, going through depression yourself, just constantly understanding, like, that it's not a sign of weakness. Just understanding that I'm here if you need to talk, if you need to vent. Like, don't ever go through this alone. And understand that you have a support system, because you have to really know how you can trust somebody with this type of information, because you don't know, you don't want to believe that it's true, that you're depressed, like, maybe I'm just in a funk, whatever. But sometimes you don't know, it sneaks up on you and punch you right in your mouth, and you're like, what's happening? Why I don't want to go out no more? And then with COVID, it doesn't make it better, because now you're stuck in the house, you don't want to go anywhere, and now you're really like, I'm just okay with being by myself.
Yeah.
Like, what? So I constantly want to, continue to talk about that whenever they're going through things, and if I'm going to do something. My oldest son see me in my dark time, and he's like, Dad, it's gonna be okay. God got us. And I told him, I was like, it was you that helped get me, remind me and get me over that hump at that time. So it's sometimes you got to lean on your kids when you least expect.
Yeah, I always tell people, like, if God can speak through a donkey, he can use anybody. So we have to keep our ears open and, our eyes open to hear and see. So that's just a beautiful story. Well, I appreciate you being here today. Why don't you tell everyone how to follow you, how to buy the book, where to see you, all of that good stuff.
You can go to melvinjacksonjr.com. You can find me on Melvin Jackson Jr., Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You can go buy the book, The Adventures of Jimmy the Fly, on Amazon. And you can also go on Barnes & Noble online. And I'm not a hard person to get in touch with. Find people tend to see my emails and find me. I was like, wow, So yeah, I definitely am a people's person, and people know they reach out to me. I respond, as long as nothing crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, definitely I'm trying to connect with people and give back when I can, whether it's just information or time or however I am able to do that.
And we can still catch those episodes of The Wire.
Yes, HBO on demand. Yeah, you can catch me on the Everybody Hates Chris CW, private CW app. You can, I think you screen rerunning everywhere. You also the New Edition story. I play Curtis Blow, so you can check me out there. And yeah.
And the short. Where can we find the short?
The documentary. Oh, the short.
Yeah, the short that you were nominated for.
Oh, you can. Right now, it's it's offline because I got a distribution deal for it, so it should be hitting two streaming platforms shortly. So I'm just waiting for that to happen to announce that. But I'm excited about that, and kind of go from there and see what else happens. And also you can check out my movie Son of the South, Spike Lee produced, that I'm a producer of as well. It's on Amazon Prime, it's on Apple TV, other streaming platforms as well. Son of the South, a great movie. You should definitely check it out. Okay, good deal. I'm putting that on the list because I did not know about that one. And then you said the documentary is on All Black. Yeah, it's All Black. Yep, All Black.
And what's the title of it?
It's called I'm a Survivor, No Longer a Victim.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for watching. I hope that you heard some encouraging words, and this helped to push you in the right direction to go seek help. Make sure you talk to people if you need someone to talk to. And we just appreciate you. Again, you know the name of the show. What are you going to do about it? And I just always want to challenge you to remember there's always hope, and just ask yourself, instead of staying in that place, what am I going to do about it? All right. Bye, everyone.